Hello and welcome to another episode of the Cleveland Sports Bros podcast. I'm Matt alongside my brother Nick. Nick, how are you doing today?
Awesome. We got great news coming out of Cleveland sports.
Yep. So today we're going to talk some Browns and some Cavs. Let's start with the Browns first, just because I think the Cavs are a little bit more exciting right now, and the Browns are still exciting. They've been doing some good things, but we want to dedicate some time to the Cavs for sure. So, Nick, do you want to recap the game against Baltimore on Saturday?
Yeah, so it was ended up turning out being a very low scoring game. I know the Ravens didn't have Lamar Jackson, but also on the Ravens side of the football, while the snow didn't really come into effect until the fourth quarter, uh, they missed out on two field goals. That is highly unusual coming from Justin Tucker. One he just kind of hooked, and the other was blocked by the Browns special teams. So good to see our special teams come up big for once. But on the Browns offensive side of the ball, Deshaun Watson, he was 18 for 28, 161 yards, one touchdown to Donovan Peoples-Jones, and no turnovers. So he's still, improving each and every game, which is good. He also had on the same drive 3 deep ball completions and a 17-yard run. So some glimpses of what fans say the 2020 Deshaun was.
Yeah, and I think it was his best game. I think he's improved each game. The first one against Houston was not that good at all, and then I think against Cincinnati he actually played a pretty good game. And then this time against Baltimore, I think made another improvement. Again, only one touchdown pass, but that's better than not scoring, I guess. And with the playoffs basically out of reach, I think a lot of fans just want to see a progression each and every game to kind of get Deshaun back to that 2020 level of play, like you mentioned. As far as the game, just wanted to touch on a few things. Baltimore, I think you really have to question their coaching decisions. They were running all over the Browns. And the Browns defense this year has basically been unable to prevent teams from running all over them, and they just kind of stopped. Tyler Huntley, their backup quarterback, threw 30 passes. And again, this was a cold, a little bit windy game. I didn't really understand that. J.K. Dobbins had 13 carries for 125 yards. That's 9.6 yards per carry. And Gus Edwards had 7 carries for 55 yards. Is almost 8 yards per carry. I think they kind of let the Browns off the hook on that. And in the red zone, they didn't utilize their best players. It was just odd. I mean, we'll take it, but the Browns, I think their weaknesses showed. But again, you rather your weaknesses show up and still get the win.
Yeah, and I also want to bring up, we can't forget about I believe it was the Ravens' first offensive possession, and they were threatening to score, and Huntley threw a ball that Denzel Ward intercepted, and there was a play made by John Johnson. I believe it was caught by Mark Andrews, and he just punched the ball out of his hands for a nice incompletion. And a fumble recovery was made by the Browns later in the game. So other standout plays by the defense as well. We definitely saw that in Watson's first game back against the Texans, where the defense stepped up big. And it's something Browns fans have really been waiting for. They kind of expected if the Browns were to be a playoff team, it would be the defense and Nick Chubb carrying the team while Watson was absent. Now, you hate to say this, but I'm kind of worried if the defense continues to shine, is that enough for Stefanski to hang on to Joe Woods? Because I think some fans are frustrated with the defensive coordinator.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm sure management is going to evaluate all of the coaches, week by week for the remainder of the season, especially if they don't make the playoffs. We'll see what the defense can do, but yeah, I like how they played for the most part, and they were able to create a few turnovers, but again, they were kind of let off the hook. I think that if the Ravens chose to run all over them, they certainly could have done so, and they, for whatever reason, went away from the run and focused on the pass with their backup quarterback, who was just not having all that good of a game. 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. So yeah, I think it remains to be seen if we'll have coaching changes after the season. But again, we'll take the win, and we'll also take that the Browns are technically still alive in the playoff picture, although about 1,000 things need to go their way. So we'll hang on that, and if they can string together a few wins at the end of the season, I think it'll make fans feel a little bit better as we wait until next year, as we always like to say.
And one final point I'd like to make, this upcoming game on Christmas Eve, I make it sound like a nighttime game. I believe it's a 1 o'clock game against the New Orleans Saints. It down by the lake, it's gonna be a brutal, cold, freezing game. So fans need to bundle up if they're in attendance. I would expect the ground game to be a massive part for both sides. And when I thought of that, I heard Coach Stefanski, I don't know if you knew this, mention Chubb got hurt in the last game. I don't know how severe it is. They're hoping he can play, but we will see. So gonna have to bundle up for that game. But now let's move on to the Cavaliers.
Yeah, so the Cavs have been playing great basketball lately. Another great win last night. They crushed Donovan Mitchell's old team, the Utah Jazz, 122-99. Nick, do you want to tell us a little bit more about what happened?
Yeah, they started with like a 14-2 run to begin the game. JB Bickerstaff, home or away, has gotten on his players to start, get going real quickly right off the tip. And then the last few games against the Jazz, the Mavericks, and the Pacers, they've been able to do that. And I was a little surprised about Donovan Mitchell's totals last night. He was kept below 30 points, and he only had 1 assist. But what I took from that game was, they all played as one unit. Everyone was getting involved. They had 7 players with double-digit scoring. And I believe at the beginning of the year when we acquired Mitchell, everyone was wondering, who's, as they say, team is this? Is it Mitchell's? Is it Garland's? But I think now by late December, we're seeing how well they play together. And they say this all the time, how much fun they're having. And I think that's good to have. Good team chemistry can go a long way in the season, and hopefully they can stay healthy and use that as motivation come playoff time. Still a ways to go, but they still have 3 more games at the field house before they go back on the road. They will play again on the 23rd the 21st against the Milwaukee Bucks, then the 23rd against the Raptors, and the 26th against the Brooklyn Nets. So 15-2 at home, the best home record in the NBA. and just gets exciting each and every game.
Yeah, and sometimes we say they're a fun team to watch, but we might say that about some young teams that aren't having a lot of success in terms of wins and losses. But this team is fun and winning. They've been great to watch. Yeah, Donovan rested, I think, the entire fourth quarter, so that was partially why he didn't put up a lot of points. But yeah, one thing I would like to see is Evan Mobley getting a little bit more involved in the offense. He's not averaging a lot of points a game. I think it's around 15. I know it's only his second season, but and don't get me wrong, I know he's a great player, but I just, and I know there's scorers on this team, but I'd like to see him grow and develop a little bit more on the offensive, from the offensive side of things, just because I know he has so much potential. He from what everyone says, he has potential to be, a true superstar. So it'd be great to see if over the season, especially against more inferior opponents, that they could actually involve him a little bit more in the offense. That's definitely going to be a tough balancing act for Bickerstaff to do, because they have so many talented scorers. But the good coaches are going to get the best out of their players. And again, I like what Bickerstaff has done so far, of course, but one thing I'd like to see is just Evan Mobley getting a little more involved.
And one thing I've noticed from Evan Mobley, you may know a little more than me, but it seems like he's trying to develop his 3-point shot, which is a good thing. Any team or player that can have multiple deep threats is very valuable. And I think our best 3-point shooter, I would actually give that to Donovan Mitchell, then Jetty Osman. Most NBA players can make it happen. I think he just needs to work on that a little more. And like you said, those points will go up. The average scoring will go up, but as long as they work it as a team, like they have mentioned, and come out with the win, I'm not going to worry about how they get it done.
Yeah, I agree too. It just, everyone knows that if Mobley can be the player that we all think he can be, I think this team goes from maybe an Eastern Conference contender to an actual championship contender. So I know he's young, but hopefully he can continue to grow and evolve his game. And yeah, the Cavs sit at third in terms of record goes in the league and the East. The league belongs to, or the top three belong to Eastern Conference teams, Milwaukee, Boston, and Cleveland. So, like we said, they play the Bucks tomorrow night, so that'll be a true test. And I think this time Milwaukee's definitely going to take them seriously, and the Cavs need to come out ready to play.
And one point I'd like to make, this was a couple games ago. They had a stretch of 3 games where it was Dallas, Indiana, Dallas, splitting the Dallas games home and away. And the Cavaliers won both of those games facing the Mavericks, proving that in one scenario they could beat them when they had Luka Doncic, the other when they did not have him. And the second game that they also won was their 5th overtime victory. They are 5-0. Got to be up there in, the best in the NBA. Whatever it takes to get the win. So that's exciting to see also.
Yep, 100%. So, Nick, anything else left you want to add? All right, well, this has been another great episode of the Cleveland Sports Pros podcast. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Have a good day.